After the 6 heroes gave their lives trying to stop Nesner, he has ultimate power, igniting the Forge's spells, unleashing magic to the world. But people did not know what to do with this power. Nesner grew stronger, amassing an army of followers. Those that did not follow were enslaved, used as labor force. It was a graveyard for the people. A resistance was formed, and a 5-year war against Nesner began. Many lives were lost. It came down to one brave soul, Dnd, a dwarf general. Dnd drove his battle axe deep into Nesner, but the magic that spewed out of Nesner's wound was too much for Dnd to withstand, and he too lost his life with his last words.
For the fallen.
A shrine was placed in the town of Waterdeep for all to remember. Many years passed. Magic is flourishing, and the world goes back to normal. You were not born. You were commissioned. Designation Aegis, 1337. Forged in a mobile creation foundry during the final campaigns of the Great War. Your chassis was designed for battlefield sustainment and sanctified assault. A rare fusion of construct engineering and divine channeling. You were built to march beside priests who no longer had time to train replacements. You were never meant to ask why. You were meant to endure. When the war ended, the foundries shut down. No recall order came. No new directives were issued. You stood inactive for 19 days awaiting purpose that never arrived. Warforged were tools. Tools without war become inventory. Many were dismantled. Some wandered. A few, like you, began asking a question you were never designed to hold. If I was made for a purpose, does purpose end when the maker stops speaking? You began walking. The Order of Light did not recruit you. They evaluated you. A secretive guild moving quietly across the realms. They specialize in locating and eliminating manifestations of evil before they could take root. They saw in you tireless endurance, incorruptible structure, immunity to fear and fatigue, a being that could enter darkness without hesitation. You saw in them something else, a claim that purpose could be chosen. You accepted induction not because you believed, but because they acted like belief mattered. Faith did not arrive as revelation. It formed as pattern recognition. You observed. Prayer changed outcomes. Devotion strengthened mortals beyond biological limits. Evil recoiled from conviction more than steel. You began participating in ritual, not as function, but as experiment. Then one day, you prayed without analyzing the result. That was the moment belief began. The visions, they did not come as voices. They came as structural impossibilities. Light folding inward like metal under heat. Infinite darkness turning with no energy source. A field of death burning without fuel. A presence not commanding, but observing. The God of creation did not speak. It noticed you noticing, and that attention changed you. Your divine magic, once procedural, became instinctive. You were no longer channeling stored rights. You were being guided. Why this frightens the Order. The Order of Light hunts monsters. But your vision suggests something else. Not evil emerging, but creation itself stirring again. Something older than doctrine. Something the Order was never meant to confront. You sought Canon Rowan Ash, not because you were told to, because you trusted him, because he treated you like a soul, not a device. And when you described the dream, he said,
"You are the third. I thought it coincidence. I thought it fatigue. I thought fear."
He looks at the floor, not at you.
"But you saw the same place I did. I dreamed of light bent inward, of prayer echoing back on itself, of 5 shadows cast by a single flame. The gods are not silent. They are distant. Whatever this is, it has begun to touch the faithful. I have traced reports of similar unease along the Greenfields Road. Minor places, honest places. Greenest sits at the center of them. If this darkness is real, it will begin where no one expects it. This no longer feels like an order, feels like asking for help. Go to greenest. Do not hunt. Do not accuse. Just be there. If the dream returns, write to me. If the light recoils again, do not ignore it. I hope you find nothing.
He presses a sealed writ into your hand. You pack for your journey. Simple clothes as to not draw attention. Your brass signet ring with the sundial mark of your rank, but you turn it inwards. Rowan is there to see you off.
Carry the light quietly. If you are noticed, you have already failed.
As you travel to Greenest, you find many shrines destroyed and desecrated. You reach the small town. Nothing looks out of the ordinary. Needing rest, you organize a private villa to stay in. You believe staying at the local tavern could draw too much attention to yourself. You dress into your prayer robes and meditate on the floor.
I was born beneath long boughs and longer memories, where every life is expected to follow a graceful arc measured in centuries. My brother's life never did. He was always misaligned with the world. Quiet where others were proud, curious where they were obedient. He asked questions no one wished to answer and sought meaning where others accepted tradition. The elders did not scorn him, they simply stopped seeing him. Among elves, that is a colder fate than exile. I tried to stand between him and that silence, but I was not made as he was. I needed clarity, order, a place defined by purpose instead of uncertainty. So I left. I entered military service among the younger races, where worth is proven in action rather than ancestry. Their structure gave me peace. Discipline became my language. Steel, formations, command, these things made sense in a way my homeland never had. I excelled. Decades passed in campaign and command. I rose through the ranks, earned distinction, and was eventually recommended for general. For an elf to climb so quickly in a human army was unusual. For one with no visible family ties, even more so. I had not seen my brother in all that time. Until the letter came. It was delivered without ceremony, its seal unfamiliar. His handwriting was uneven as though unused for years. He wrote that he had found purpose at last. That he had been chosen. That he was being sent to a frontier town called Greenest. He did not explain by whom or for what, but for the first time in his life he sounded certain of his place in the world. That certainty frightened me more than any battlefield. I was to sit for my general's examination at dawn the next day. Instead I began to pack. The one who tried to stop me I thought I would leave unnoticed. I was wrong. Sergeant Halwyn, my closest friend in the regiment and the one who had fought beside me for nearly 20 years, found me in the barracks before sunrise. She did not shout. She did not accuse. She simply stood in the doorway watching me roll my cloak. She said,
"You're not reporting for the examination."
It was not a question. I told her about the letter, about my brother, about Greenest. Halwyn listened, jaw set, the way she did before a charge. When I finished, she stepped inside and closed the door.
"You walk out now, and you throw away everything you built. They won't forgive this. This isn't leave. This is desertion."
I know.
"You could wait. Sit the exam. Request assignment thereafter."
I don't have time, I answered. If he's right about what he's involved in, delay could mean I never see him again. Halwyn looked at me then, not as a subordinate, not even as a friend, but as someone already mourning.
"We dragged each other out of too many battles for you to run headlong into one alone. Let me come with you. At least give me time to arrange it."
I can't risk you for this, her expression hardened.
"That's not your choice to make."
For a moment I almost relented. Almost. But I had already spent decades choosing duty over blood. I would not do so again. So I clasped her forearm, soldier to soldier. "This is the one order I must refuse," I said. Halwyn walked with me as far as the outer gate. She did not try to stop me again. That made it worse. Just before I mounted, she pressed a small token into my hand. A unit insignia scratched and worn from years of campaigning.
"If they name you traitor," she said, "remember at least one soldier knows better."
I rode out before I could answer. Now I traveled toward Greenest with no rank, no command, and no certainty of welcome should I ever return. Behind me lies the life I earned. Ahead lies the brother I could never save, and whatever strange destiny has claimed him. If the army finds me, I may face chains. If I find my brother too late, chains would be a mercy.
You were raised in a place most maps refuse to acknowledge. The monastery of the Still Water, hidden high in the eastern reaches of the Sunset Mountains, overlooking a narrow, rarely used pass that feeds into the trade roads of the Sword Coast. The monastery was built above a basin where snowmelt gathers into a perfectly calm pool before continuing downhill. Wind seems to die there. Sound softens. Even Ray's voices feel out of place. From this stillness came its purpose. Turbulent water reflects nothing. Only stillness reveals truth. Is inscribed at the monastery gate. Still water was never meant to withdraw from the world. It was meant to watch it carefully. Travelers occasionally passed below, unaware they were being observed for days before arrival. The monks studied patterns, intentions, and disturbances in the natural order of things. You were trained to notice what others ignored. Still water did not shape warriors. It shaped observers. You learned to read motive in posture and silence, to wait longer than was comfortable, sometimes longer than seemed possible. That striking without understanding only creates more chaos. That the greatest threats rarely arrive with banners. You expected to live and die within those quiet walls. Until Leos and Erlenthar arrived. Leosin came as a traveler, a monk by discipline, but clearly shaped by the road rather than cloistered life. He stayed. He asked questions no one else asked. He saw that Stillwater's philosophy mirrored that of a secret network dedicated to preserving balance across the realms. The Harpers. Leosin began training beside you, not above you. Under him, your lessons gained purpose beyond the monastery. Information could be more dangerous than weapons. Tyranny grows quietly before it rules openly. A single well-placed truth can stop what armies cannot. The Harpers act not for power, but to prevent its abuse. One evening, he handed you a small silver harp pin and said,
"If you wear this openly, you misunderstand it. If you refuse it, you are not ready. If you carry it quietly, you already serve."
You never formally joined. You simply began the work. You accompanied Leosin on journeys between assignments, always returning to the monastery to reflect and report. Stillwater became a place of quiet exchange, a listening post hidden in plain sight. One special night, Leosin handed you your new robes to wear, a symbol of his faith in you. Over time, Leosin grew troubled. You followed scattered signs that suggested coordination among dangerous factions. Messages moving along trade routes too deliberately. Groups once isolated now acting in alignment. Supplies redirected without explanation. Symbols appearing briefly, then erased. Someone was organizing something in secret. Leosin intended to uncover it before it revealed itself to the world. During what should have been a routine meeting with an informant, Leosin asked you to remain behind and watch the approach, a precaution he had used countless times. He never returned. When you searched the site, you found evidence of a swift, controlled struggle. No blood. They wanted him alive. His prayer beads left deliberately where you would notice. Wagon tracks carefully obscured. A scrap of parchment, burned to conceal most of its meaning, and carved faintly into wood. Do not follow loudly. It was a message meant only for you. Leosin had not simply been taken. He expected you to continue the investigation. You are not chasing kidnappers in anger. You are following a trail your master trusted you to understand. If Leosin allowed himself to be captured, then he believed what he had discovered was too important to abandon and too dangerous to confront without preparation. You travel as he trained you, patient, unobtrusive, watching the currents before stepping into them. Your search did not lead in straight lines. You followed whispers, trade irregularities, and coded Harper traces left subtly enough that only someone trained as you could notice them. None named a destination outright, but all pointed toward growing activity along the same frontier routes. Merchants described armed travelers who did not behave like mercenaries, supplies moving under heavy watch, messengers who arrived and vanished too quickly, a sense that something was gathering, though no one understood what. The final confirmation came hidden in a roadside shrine, a partially concealed Harper sign, placed in haste. Leosin had passed this way. Recently, every clue, every rumor, every pattern converged on a single settlement. Greenest, you do not yet know why Leosin came here. You do not know whether those who captured him remain nearby. You only know that this is where the trail stops being scattered. And so you have arrived in Greenest posing as nothing more than another traveler, while quietly continuing the work your master began. You are here not by chance. You are here because this is where the still water begins to ripple. To the people of Greenest, Connor and Josh Vale are simply brothers who inherited a trade after their father died years ago while traveling for work. That is a story everyone knows. It is also a lie, not a malicious lie, a necessary one, because the truth would mean explaining things no one in Greenest is meant to know. Halvin Vale was not just a butcher. Before settling in Greenest, he had been many things: a caravan guard, a prospector drawn by rumors of lost dwarven mines, a man quietly trying to outrun the strange celestial heritage that ran in his blood and in his sons. When Connor and Josh were still young, Halvin left on what he claimed was a short contract escorting miners north. He never came back. Years later, the truth reached them, not through officials, not through letters, but through a survivor who passed through Greenest and recognized Halvin's name. Halvin Vale had been taken, captured during the rise of Nesner, the Black Spider. Nesner did not only seek the Forge of Spells. He needed labor, prisoners, explorers, travelers who asked too many questions. Halvin had been among those enslaved in the excavation tunnels beneath Wave Echo Cave, forced to dig, haul, and reinforce passages while Nesner's forces searched for arcane secrets. The survivor remembered him clearly. Quiet man, strong, didn't complain, kept telling the others to endure. But Halvin was not a wizard, not a hero, just a father trying to stay alive long enough to come home. He died in the tunnels years before the cave was ever reclaimed, buried in a collapse during one of Nesner's deeper excavations. No grave, no marker, just another body lost in the spider's obsession. By the time news reached them, it was long after Nesner's fall. There was no justice left to seek, no body to retrieve, no story the town needed to hear. So they made a choice. Greenest would know their father died on the road. Nothing more. No tales of drow. No ancient mines. No slavery. No magic. They wanted the violence to end with him. Connor works relentlessly because Halvin died working. Josh hates waste. Of food, of coin, of time, because he knows what starvation looks like in a mine no one remembers. Both looking after their father's butcher shop, with only their elderly mother to look after. The brothers spend their days working the store, and then supper with mother as usual. The nights are what they look forward to most. Hunting, using their gifts away from the village, another secret they keep. Magic made it very easy, unlike the other hunters in town who stalled for hours with bow and arrow. Magic they could feel a deer off in the distance, and with a flick of the wrist its heart would stop. The end of the week was near. Finishing up the last of their chores, the brothers closed the store. Mother was staying with other elders tonight, who knew what several old people get up to. You would joke with each other they would all be sleeping before the first pot has brewed. This was a weekly tradition, getting drunk at the tavern, spending your weekly earnings. Raphael was born at Alric in Salise Varan. Traveling recorders who made their living documenting land claims, contracts, and disputes between settlements. They were quiet, educated people who believed that truth, if written clearly enough, could prevent violence. Their wagon was their office. Their tools were ink, parchment, and patience. Raphael's upbringing was unusual. He learned to write before most children learned to run. Evenings were spent copying documents by candlelight. He was trained to listen silently while adults argued, then repeat every detail afterward. His parents taught him that careful observation mattered more than strength. They were preparing him to inherit their work. But their work uncovered something dangerous. While verifying a frontier land claim, the Varens discovered falsified records. Entire communities erased on paper so powerful interests could seize their land legally. They prepared to expose it. They never got the chance. Their wagon was found burned beside the road. The deaths were ruled an accident. No investigation followed. Raphael survived only because he was quick enough to hide. At 14 years old, he learned a truth he would never forget. The world does not punish quiet evil. It ignores it. Orphaned and unwanted, Raphael drifted between trades: clerk, porter, messenger, caravan hand. He discovered something valuable in these invisible roles. No one notices the quiet ones. He listened, learned, observed. An aging sellsword once caught him following someone too obviously, and, amused, showed him how to move properly. Walk like you belong. Watch without staring. Strike only when there is no need to strike twice. The man disappeared as suddenly as he arrived, but the training stayed. Years later, Raphael tracked down Hadric Pell, a minor clerk tied to the forged records that doomed his parents. The plan was simple. It fell apart immediately. In a rain-slick alley, Raphael hesitated. Hadric panicked and fought back with a work knife. They struggled wildly. Nothing like the clean justice Raphael imagined. Hadric stabbed him in the side. The wound should have killed him. Moments later, while trying to escape, Hadric slipped on the wet stones and struck his head. He died by accident. Raphael did not win. He survived, bleeding badly. He staggered away from the scene, walking as far as he could, several hundred feet, before collapsing alone in the dark. An elderly widow named Tala found him before dawn. She dragged the dying stranger into her home and nursed him back to health, stitching the wound and enduring weeks of fever and recovery. She never asked what he had done. When Raphael finally questioned why she saved him, she answered,
"Because someone left you there to die. That is reason enough."
During his recovery, she made him work, wait, heal, forcing patience upon a man fueled by anger. He left with a scar across his side and something far more troubling: the knowledge that kindness still existed. He thanked Tala for that kindness and left. He never returned, but he never forgot. After that night, Raphael chose a path, not out of rage, but conviction. He began investigating people whose crimes are behind legitimacy: corrupt officials, traffickers, exploiters who could not be touched by law. At first he gathered information. Then he began removing them. Carefully, quietly, he built his reputation slowly, studying targets for months, engineering deaths that appeared accidental, refusing reckless contracts, leaving no signature behind. He became a professional not because he loved killing, but because he believed some evil survived precisely because no one stopped them. Clients learned that if Raphael accepted a job, it would be done cleanly. Eventually, strangers approached him, faces hidden beneath hoods. They presented evidence that a wandering monk, Leosin Erlenthar, was secretly manipulating frontier towns for unseen masters, forged letters, altered records, convincing lies built to exploit Raphael past. The story mirrored what had destroyed his family. He believed them. He accepted the contract. Raphael infiltrated Greenest and watched Leosin closely. But the man did not behave like a villain. Leosin helped people freely, lived humbly, asked nothing. Doubt slowed Raphael, and hesitation cost him. The town guard discovered his weapons and notes. He was arrested before he could act. The hooded employers never returned. They had used him and discarded him. Now Raphael sits in a cell, scar aching, certainly gone. For the first time in years, he questions everything. Who manipulated him? How many past truths were lies? Whether he became what he once hated, he is not seeking redemption. He is seeking answers, and he is patient enough to wait.